Hello, this is Sample 7 Video 1. In my previous video where I discussed ostracods, I mentioned the seasonal changes in precipitation and evaporation of the lake I visit. When I went to collect this sample, the region where I usually obtain samples from was completely dry. This forced me to move to a different part of the lake, with different aquatic plants and a different sediment. This sediment resembles more sand rather than mud or dirt. In response to this dissimilar sample collection, I have discovered a new player in the benthic community, a nematode. I'm going to quickly go over why the microorganisms inhabiting the benthic region of aquatic environments are so essential. The benthic zone is the sediment surface and the water right above it. In fact, the majority of the samples I collect are from the benthic zone. This zone is where all of the decaying organic material slowly falls to, and without the proper microbiodiversity, this waste will accumulate and cause shifts in the chemical environment. The microorganisms inhabiting this region are responsible for breaking down the waste and managing the nutrient and chemical flow of the ecosystem. For example, euglenids and diatoms, and other photosynthetic microorganisms, are primarily responsible for nitrogen and carbon fixation, while others, like the Colobs hirtus, which specifically feed on decaying organic matter, limit the amount of waste in that ecosystem. These microorganisms rely on each other, the same way that the macroorganisms of the environment also rely on them. It is essentially a cycle, and the nematode is just one player out of the many microorganisms that inhabit the benthic zone. Nematodes are part of the lower Metazoa phylum. Interestingly enough, they are in the same phylum as rotifers and gastrotrichs, both of which I've seen in previous samples. This phylum is characterized by its evolution to create a colonial species, meaning there will be many of them found together living as a community. In fact, nematodes have been found to excel at this characteristic. A study in the Encyclopedia of Inland Waters found there are usually between 100,000 to 1 million nematodes per square meter in freshwater lakes. That's a lot of nematodes. The key to nematodes and their function in the benthic community is their location in the sediment. Nematodes are essentially one long muscle covered by a cuticle. They have a nerve running through their body and a unique sensory organ. They have no circulatory or respiratory system, which is why they're found buried deep in the sediment. For reference, humans breathe about 21% oxygen concentration, whereas nematodes prefer 6%. I guess there's no need for oxygen when you don't have a respiratory system. Due to this, nematodes are found to clump in areas with low oxygen concentrations, and can even sense and react to changes in oxygen levels using their unique sensory organ. This oxygen repulsion is species-specific. Nematodes are incredibly diverse, each with its own habitat preference. There are aquatic, terrestrial, and parasitic nematodes. However, this video will only cover the freshwater ones. Freshwater species are generally classified by their buccal morphology. The majority of benthic freshwater nematodes are bacteria and algae feeding, called monohistorids. It is important to note these nematodes can also feed on decaying organic matter. So, to finally answer the question regarding the nematode's role in the benthic community, they are considered an intermediate link in the microcommunity. They feed on algae and bacteria and decaying organic matter, and are also prey to tardigrades, small fish, and insect larvae. Their most important function is bioturbation, which is the transport of sediment particles and water, ultimately changing the sediment's physical and chemical properties. Bioturbation is found to enhance the rate of carbon mineralization by increasing microbial activity. The spot where I previously visited did not have a distinct separation between the benthic zone and the top water. In this case, there was more oxygen present and less likely for nematodes to inhabit in large populations. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, my sources are linked in the description below, and be on the lookout for more videos.